Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about the return of the Black Lantern Corps. But before we get into that, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. That helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, but also we love to hear from you guys. We have an awesome community here, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you so much for being here. So, all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to today's story takes place on Earth K in 2025 when Black Lantern rings fly to the graves of every character who ever died, be they good or evil. Their souls may have returned to life, but the Black Lantern ring does not use the soul. It animates the old body. And if it's decomposed or cremated, the black ring has regeneration usable on others. So it gets the old body going again. As a result, characters we've seen recently, like the pre-crisis Superman, faces off against his own reanimated corpse. The Hal Jordan Green Lantern faces off against a Black Lantern Hal Jordan. And the Legion of Superheroes faces off against Black Lantern versions of the Fatal Five. Which brings us to the main plot, which involves a legion from one of many possible futures. They manage to take out four of the five members of the Fatal Five. But the last villain standing is Black Lantern Validus. He manages to take down the entire Legion except for Invincible Kid, whose body was invulnerable to any kinetic damage, and Power Boy, who is in the first edition DC Heroes Legion sourcebook and has a whopping strength of 184, which is just insane. Nobody else even comes close. But these two guys are the last two Legionnaires standing. But Validus uses Mind Blast on Invincible Kid. And while his body was invulnerable to any kinetic damage, his mind was still vulnerable to mental attack. So the psychic blast that Validus uses destroys the mind of the Invincible Kid. So physically, he's in a coma, but mentally, he is just totally blank now. So Power Boy, aka Jed Rykane, screams in rage and then takes a swing at Validus, but misses. Power Boy has a dex of 8, and Validus also has a dex of 8. So Power Boy only needed an 11 or better. But Power Boy rolled a 3 and a 6. On Validus's turn, he rolls a 9 and a 3, which hits. So it's Validus's strength of 58 versus Power Boy's body of 15, as well as Power Boy's density increase of 5 and skin armor of 7. So Power Boy is in the negatives now and is bleeding out. And Validus blasts his mind then for good measure. Just then, Lobo flies overhead on his flying motorcycle. The main man hops off his hog and drops onto the shoulders of the gigantic villain known as Validus, doing a sort of superhero landing, but also trying to bring his fist down on the top of the villain's head. Because for anyone who doesn't know, the top of the head of Validus sort of looks like a glass dome, and you can see his brain through it. So Lobo is trying to break the glass. He rolls the dice, but does no damage to the villain's transparent dome. So instead, Lobo spends his remaining automatic action just running his mouth and trash talking the bad guy. Meanwhile, Rogue and Juggernaut are here in the midst of this crisis. And on Rogue's turn, she trades her dice action for two more automatic actions. So flying to the invincible kid is an automatic action. Absorbing his invulnerability to any kinetic damage is an automatic action. Then flying to Power Boy is an automatic action, and absorbing his strength of 184 is her last automatic action. Also here is the son of John Redbridge and the Janie Slater version of Dr. Manhattan from Earth K. He tries to use his precognition to see the future, but the whole area has been flooded by tachyon particles. So his precognition does not work right now, and the future is unclear. Meanwhile, Lobo unravels one of the chains on his forearm, then gets it around the neck of Validus and tries to strangle him with it. But this Validus is undead, so that does not work either. So instead, Lobo whistles for his bike, and as it flies down to pick him up, he jumps onto it and tries to use the bike's speed to pull Validus off balance. On Rogue's turn, she uses Power Boy's strength of 184 to fly to where the Black Lantern ring is on the finger of Validus and crush it. She succeeds, and she destroys the ring, which had the animate dead power. So without that, the remains of Validus just drop. So Dr. Manhattan, Lobo, and Rogue, who are the most random party ever, have a beat to touch base with each other and compare notes. As they do, the Black Lantern version of a villain named Upside Down Man attacks Juggernaut. Upside Down Man has a mouth, but seemingly no eyes or nose on his otherwise blank face. And he's a zombie too. But rather than hungering for brains, he is devouring magic. And then he has the powers of whoever he devoured. So he's already devoured Dr. Fate and Doctor Strange, and now he drains the powers and abilities out of Juggernaut. Juggernaut's red armor is still invulnerable to any kinetic damage, but Juggernaut's unstoppable quality is gone. And his strength and bulk are gone too. So Kane Marco is now a withered, scrawny human. The Upside Down Man tries to eat Kane's soul, which is a mystical attribute, and Rogue flies in, trying to come to the defense of the Juggernaut. She thinks about trying to punch Upside Down Man, but she realizes that her new strength is actually kind of a curse, because now she will hit so hard, her gloves are going to get shredded, and the exposed skin on her knuckles could mean that she would absorb some unwanted zombie traits. So Rogue figures she needs a new plan. Meanwhile, Lobo searches for the bodies of the Fatal Five, and in doing so, he finds a weapon called the Atomic Axe. He loves this thing and uses it to take a swing at the Upside Down Man. And while he does stick the axe in him, Upside Down Man can take a licking and keep on ticking. Especially now that he has the powers of Juggernaut as well as the black version of Juggernaut's classic armor. And while he has a black dome that resembles Juggernaut's helmet, the holes in front for eyes and a mouth are different than on the real Juggernaut helmet, where Upside Down Man's glossy black dome that now exists has a mouth hole, but it is at the top of the face, and he doesn't need eye holes. And that helmet is what stopped the Atomic Axe. Dr. Manhattan tries to use transmutation to disintegrate the villain, but he doesn't roll high enough on the dice. Lobo makes a quip about ringing the villain's bell, and the Upside Down Man smiles and then prepares to try to eat Lobo's soul. Lobo gets ready for another swing of that axe as Rogue makes a stealth roll and succeeds. She knows that they need to get that black helmet off first before they can start doing damage to this guy. So she snuck up behind him and she grabs that seam where the dome-shaped helmet meets his big metal armored collar area, and she pulls up as hard as she can. But instead of taking the helmet off, Rogue accidentally just throws this guy straight up. Because again, having a strength of 184 is a curse, and she's not used to it. So we played this up like sort of like a more serious version of the greatest American hero, where she needs to learn how to control her new abilities. Um, so that's not a lot of fun for her. Anyways, as Upside Down Man streaks upwards, that unstoppable power of the Juggernaut comes into play here. When the Shazam family is flying overhead and one of the Lieutenant Marvels, specifically the one they refer to as Fat Marvel, tries to punch him back down to Earth, kind of like a volleyball, but he can't because even the strength of Hercules is not enough to stop a quote unquote unstoppable object. The Shazam family lands next to Dr. Manhattan, Lobo, and Rogue, and one of them is an anthropomorphic tiger named Mr. Talkie Tawny, who is hanging out with an anthropomorphic lion in a Superman costume. This is actually a clone of Superman who was cursed with lycanthropy. Anyways, all of these heroes run around fighting various villains who are now Black Lanterns. But after Validus and Upside Down Man are taken care of, um, dealing with the other Black Lanterns is way easier, right? It's also worth noting that Rogue grabs Juggernaut's original red helmet since it is invulnerable to any kinetic damage, and she's using that to club people. Again, referring back to um, her not wanting to rip through her gloves and absorb something she doesn't want to absorb, right? So she needed that invulnerable thing to bludgeon people with now that she has this massive new strength. And then that brings us to the epilogue. What's left of the Anti-Monitor is now the central power battery for the Black Lantern Corps. And next to it now is Necron, Lord of the Unliving. All of the heroes dogpile Necron, but he points his hand at a Green Lantern named Simon Baz, and Necron has a 75 AP attack where the light around his hand dims, and then Necron shoots Simon with a black ray of pure death itself. And Simon first dies, then rises as yet another Black Lantern. Dr. Manhattan sprays Necron with acid, and that doesn't work. Lobo hits Necron with the axe, that doesn't work. Rogue even hits Necron with that massive strength of hers, smacking him with that Juggernaut helmet. Um, but even when Necron is taken into the negatives, he somehow still keeps going because he's already dead, right? So all of their attempts to kill him fail. And the heroes have no idea how to defeat death itself. And that's where this game session ended. We enjoyed playing it. We hope you enjoyed hearing about it. If so, we would love it if you took a quick moment of your time to smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and to leave us a comment. And from everybody here at the longest running superhero role playing game on earth, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.